So we're here. Finally, we can say that we're finally in this place. And I'm here with Renee Barnes.
Yes.
Because, I would say McDaniel.
Sure, that's all right. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. I still tell people McDaniel sometimes.
Okay.
So they have a reference.
And let me help you understand why I know her as McDaniel. Because she is my actual live cousin, like bloodline cousin. We didn't have to make this up, right?
Exactly.
You ain't my play cousin.
Right.
You're a real thing.
right.
And so I've been looking to do this since March.
Yeah.
And let me help you understand. You inspired me to do the podcast.
Really?
I was just doing a blog.
Wow.
I was just going to do a blog. But your energy, your fire, who you are, I just could not just put that in paper.
Right,
It had to be something that is seen,
Right.
So.
And podcast is what's up. That's the way to go now.
Right.
It really is.
Right. So this is the introduction to what I would say would be my vlog now, and it's Triumphant Living magazine.
Awesome.
And it's really just a place to see positive experiences out of tragedy.
Right.
And how you recoup, how you continue on, how you change lives with your witness and your example, what you're doing after the tragedy to make it worth the experience.
Right.
Because some people take their tragedy and they wear it like a cloak.
Oh, yeah.
To suffer.
Yeah. Badge of
and
honor.
they feel justified.
Yeah.
But then some people take that tragedy and turn it into something else that turns into everything.
Exactly.
And, we're here. And the thing about it is, I want to give a shout out to Smash Studios, which is where we are.
Yay.
And yay, thank you.
Yes.
And I also want to give a shout out to my nephew, CJ Robinson, for finding this place for me, because I have been looking since March for a place like this.
Awesome.
And the timing of the Lord is everything.
Absolutely, in the fullness of his time. Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because yesterday was what?
The 7th anniversary of my husband's death. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
Timing is really everything.
Yeah. A lot of times we want to rush when God puts a idea in our mind and we want it to do it now.
Right.
But I'm learning to go with the flow.
Right.
Because a lot of times we want to be at 0.5 when he says stay at 0.2 because I got to do some things in between 2 and 5 before you get there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
I'm excited
welcome.
for you.
I'm excited.
And happy for you.
Because this is the beginning of something that has been on my heart for years.
Yeah.
And I was, going to make it just a magazine.
Right.
And, honing in on my writing skills and all of those things and just really expressing myself through paper and pen.
Right.
But I guess as time goes on, certain things just kind of phase out.
Exactly. A lot of magazine companies are going down. Podcast is what's up.
Newspaper is becoming obsolete. So this is what we do now.
Exactly.
So this is exciting for me. Yeah. And I needed it to be you.
And I'm so completely
excited.
Honored that I get to be the first. And what you're doing is powerful because this is an avenue for testimonies, which we don't really have too much in the church anymore, which I understand why.
Right.
But at the same time, this is an avenue where you can have a podcast that gives people hope.
Right.
And people can let out and share their experience and what they went through to where they are now, because people need to hear.
Right.
People need to know that.
I love the church, and I love everything about God. I want this to be one of those avenues where God uses every type of person.
Absolutely.
To just bring light.
Absolutely.
And it's such a dark moment, such dark times.
Right.
Where it seems like I've never heard of cancer so much until now.
Oh my God. It was so infrequent when we were growing up. They'd say the big C because no one wanted to say it.
Right.
Because once you heard it, you figured, oh, that's death right there. But now people are living and managing their cancers, but it's like every other person, old, in between.
And it's so crazy.
And it has no respect of color, creed,
financial
economic status, right?
You know,
Absolutely not.
It has none.
None.
It has none.
You
And
know?
it has been, as of yesterday, September 5th, 7 years.
7 years because of 9/11, and I'm actually planning to go to the memorial for the first time next week.
Really?
I've never gone,
Okay.
but I've sat home and watched the calling out of names and cried. And I know most of that is for the people that died that day, but there's a whole lot of people that are
Right.
still dying.
Right.
That they're still getting diagnosed. I heard on the radio today that they are diagnosing more people with cardiovascular issues
Right.
with 9/11, whereas before it was mostly cancer and respiratory
Right.
issues. But they're noticing a lot of firemen. They're keeping the statistics now as to how many that worked at 9/11 when the towers first came down.
Right.
That's coming up with cardiovascular issues as well.
Right. So tell me, to let everybody know your husband's name. And
Okay. So my husband's name is M. Charles Barnes, M as in EMM. And when I first met him, I'm like, M? And I met him in college. I was 17 and he was 21. And his actual name is Emrit, but he couldn't stand it because it was so country. So he told everybody it was M. So I said, this stands for good. Remember the Campbell soup commercial? I was so fresh. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But what an amazing person. What a giving person. When you first meet him, he was always so very stoic and so very serious and a walking wealth of knowledge about anything and everything. I mean, after he passed and I went through his library, he had from A to Z.
Wow.
And financial analyst, went to Stuyvesant High School. If anybody know anything about New York City,
Right.
back in the day in the 70s when it was mostly Asian,
Right.
he was one of the few African-American men that
Wow.
graduated from Stuyvesant. And I met him at Iona. But outside of what he did, who he was just this tall, confident, kind-hearted person. And he helped me so much because when he met me, I was very shy. So he was very serious, more introverted, more quiet, very rooted and grounded. And that was the loud, crazy, but it worked.
But it worked.
It
right,
worked,
right.
and he followed me after I got out of the Air Force, went to IBM in Virginia, and we stayed down there for a while. Came back home, had our daughter Heather, but in 2001, well, I didn't know it at the time, with 9/11, he was down there in it, made it through it. But like I tell people, on October 5th of 2006, 9/11 visited my house again.
Right.
Because that's when we found out that he had a nasal polyp.
Okay.
And when they biopsied it, excised it, and biopsied it, he was already at 4th stage cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a rare type. We met a doctor in Manhattan that only dealt with 6 cases. And this is all stemming from 9/11.
Now, where did he work?
He worked down at off a ship called the Floating Hospital off the South Street Seaport.
Right. I've heard of that.
Yes,
right.
He was a financial analyst there, and when the towers fell, he was coming out of the train and all that soot and everything, and he was a brother with the fro. He had that Malcolm X look,
boy.
light
So
complexion,
it was
goatee.
all in
So
his-
it was all, and he was one of those that didn't rush home. He stayed on that ship when everybody else left because he was in charge of payroll. And back then it was, I think, electronically sent. And he said, I couldn't get it to go through. And it was just him and the security guard. The security guard said, well, as long as you're here, I'll stay with you. And he stayed up till 5 o'clock because he said, no matter what happened, people are going to want their paychecks by Friday. I think it was a Tuesday.
He
said by Friday, he said by Friday people, so he stayed. I didn't hear from him. I didn't know where he was, if he was okay. But by midnight, he ended up back home. But for all the rest of those days, months into years, I wondered how it affected him, breathing in all of that, even though the head of the Environmental Protection Agency had said that it was fine, the air was fine after a week. How could it be? Yeah, right.
Those 900-year-old buildings
right,
with
absolutely.
all that asbestos in it, and they want us to believe that.
So he told me he could smell death in the air
Absolutely.
every day. But, he was doing well. This was a healthy man, never had any type of chronic illnesses, no high blood pressure, diabetes, nothing. And I work in the medical field, totally. And I was one of those wives that when it was into get your physical every year, I said at the point me to go, he was a healthy man. And but let me tell you how awesome God is. He had no symptoms, no change in diet, no weight loss, nothing. no change in immune system, no colds, no nothing. What happened was I woke up one morning and the TV volume was loud. So I said to him, and he goes to bed late at night, so when I pushed the button, it was loud. So I said, why is the TV up so loud? He said, I can't hear out of one of my ears. And if you know anything about men, a lot of times, they will self-diagnose, and if they can make do, they'll make do. So he just turned the volume up, and the other ear was fine. So I said to him, no, we don't self-diagnose. We're going to the ENT. That's when the ENT said, you have a little fluid on the ears, so we'll drain it, put some a tube in. And then he said, come back for the second year. Well, in the interim, we lost his mother to cancer.
Oh, boy.
So once we got her squared away, she metastasized. She died pretty quickly, 8-month span from the time we found out. I got him back to the ENT doctor. And this is where I can say you, God is awesome. Because once again, he had, during that time, no symptoms, no change, no problems. The doctor did the other ear, and on the way out, the doctor said, come back here, your voice doesn't sound right. Which I don't understand because he didn't know my husband like that. That was only second time seeing him.
Right.
He said, let me just, check the ears again, check the throat, check the nasal passages, and that's when they found the polyp.
Oh, wow.
Sent it for a CT scan to make sure there was no tumor connected in his face. It was none. He said, okay, we're going to excise it and biopsy it, and that's when they said he had fourth stage.
Wow.
And I really believe the ear thing was to lead us to the main thing, because if we didn't find that out, he would have just got sick and died quickly.
Right.
But I praise God that he went through 7 months of treatment and went into remission. Came back 2 years later, colon cancer, went into remission after going through treatment again. By the third time, colon cancer again. He went from 230 pounds to 150 pounds in 10 months. Wow. But the thing how God has led me after going through the grieving, even through the grieving to see it, is I said, you know what, God, from the time he was diagnosed, from the first time, I had him for 6 more years. And this is why I tell people it's important to give donations to research and charities. Right. I said because of research, people are living longer with cancer. Absolutely. And they're managing.
Right.
And research is so important. And I tell people all the time, I said, you hear the scripture about greater works what we do. Well, it's not just about speaking in tongues and preaching and getting to third world countries through television and videos. It's also through research of things that would have killed you quicker. Right. Absolutely. Being that I'm in ophthalmology, I work with eye diseases. Sometime in the Bible, you hear about the prophets, their eyes grew dim. I said, they must have had cataracts.
Right. And
but back then, they couldn't, they didn't know how to remove them or anything.
They just
and
went
those are part of,
gray, and that was it.
And once cataracts come, even now, if you don't remove them, you do go blind.
Absolutely.
So I said, God, I thank you for those greater works with research. So now when I'm on the supermarket line and they said you want to add something for whatever it is, diabetes, breast cancer, I give.
$1, right.
Because you don't know when it's coming home to you, honey, or a loved one.
Absolutely.
And thank God for research. But when I tell you, I couldn't believe what was happening to me. I said, this is not happening. And when he died and I went home and I looked at my father and I said, I can't wait to get well. And we had been married for 26 years. We dated for 9 years, married for 26 years.
Wow.
And I had made a choice from the very day of his death. I can't wait to heal. And I said, Lord, I know this is bigger than me. I don't know why you chose me. I'm not liking it right now.
Right.
Real talk.
Right.
I'm upset about this. This is my dude. I mean, my daughter's in college now. Me and him, we're going to be young lovers again, doing our thing. Yeah, we made plans.
Absolutely.
We just had her, the one, Heather, and she was in a junior at Adelphi University in Long Island, and we were making our plans. Right. And we were believing God for his healing. And I'm grateful, like I said, he made it through twice, but by the third time, I recognized, you know what, Lord? There was a point where I could no longer take this journey with God and my husband. There was a point where I was no longer part of that journey. It was just God and my husband. And whatever they discussed, whatever they talked about, I couldn't tell him, hang around. He got to the point where he was tired. And I said to him, whether you live or you die, you still win.
Right.
I said, because the body is like, I'm very, I don't know, in my way of seeing things, I always feel like I'm childlike because I think of things in, little pictures. And I said, your skin is like, or your body, your physical body is like, let's say overalls. You zip it down, take it off, and you keep walking.
Mm.
And I said, you're just getting rid of this body that won't cooperate, but you're not going to miss a beat.
Right.
And I said, so whichever way it goes down, because he had gone into cardiac arrest and the doctor wanted to put him back on the respirator and he refused to go on it. And I said, it's your choice. I love you that much. And the doctor said, you wouldn't make it through the night. And he didn't. And from there, you know, I'm not going to get deep into the grief. And we've all had grief of some sort,
right.
whether, you know, parent, child, sibling, love, whatever it is, we know about the grieving process. But I said, God, I need to do something with these feelings I got about with every time I see a widow, whether I know him or not, or hear about him or know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
Or like with John McCain when he passed and I'm watching the widow on TV and I'm like, I know what she's going through every step of the way. I know the feeling. It's like I was reliving it. I was like, God, what can I do with these feelings? I need to do something with them. And that's when I started my widows group.
Tell me the name of it.
The Two Village, TWO, standing for Together We Overcome.
Okay.
And, you know, first I started out with a blog, just writing my feelings, which was therapeutic. It was called The Wow Factor, WOWW, Wisdom of a Wife/Widow. Okay. And I did that for about a year, just talking about, you know, how we met, the whole thing, up until the time with his, when he passed, up to, you know, Heather and our challenges with finances.
Are those things still available?
The Wow Factor page is still on Facebook.
Oh, it's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook, yeah. It's called the Wow Factor, WOWW 2012.
Okay.
And is there? Honestly, I don't write on it anymore because after a while, as I began to heal, I started to lose interest.
Okay.
In it. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, I'm just being.
There's still somebody who is where you were.
Yes, and it's
at
still
least
there.
They can go back to it.
And periodically, I've been kind of going back on it and just jotting a few things because once I started the Two Village, it was more for me to include other people, not just widows, but widowers. And we have a forum where we all can talk.
Okay.
About how we feel that day, if we're angry, if we miss them at night in bed. I will put on the site what's your favorite song, what was you guys' favorite song, put up your wedding pictures, you know, if it's somebody's anniversary.
So you had people who were friending the page and following
Yes,
the page.
well, what happens is the Wow Factor was open to everybody. The Two Village is a closed group. That comes through people telling me I know someone that's a widow because it's a closed page. Okay. Or if I knew.
So it's a safe place.
Yes, a safe, judgment-free. Right. We can talk the way we want to talk, what we want to say,
and
things not be judged. Because you have people a lot of times after a while, and I'm sure they don't mean any harm, but they don't realize what they're saying. You know, I'd get like, are you over him yet? Got a boyfriend yet? You know, things like that, you know. And after a while, people a lot of times, and I get it, they don't want to hear that you're still mourning or you're still going through it or you still miss them. But what they don't realize is that that person and what they went through in that death will be a part of your life, whether you remarry or not, for the rest of your life. Right. They will be a part. You are who you are now because of the marriage you had with that person. Then children come from that. So, yes, it's a very safe place. We go out sometimes.
Oh, good.
Yes,
okay.
we've been going out maybe once every 3 months, Harlem, Yonkers, wherever. I'm planning on having a retreat at some point because I have women from Florida. I have women from, one from Ohio, someone else in the Midwest. I have people from Maryland, one from Connecticut. You know, most of them are from New York, but the word is getting out there. Okay. Some I notice they never talk on it, but they're reading it. And that's all it's for. I said, Lord, you told me to do it. Whatever they need from it, they get. The ones that want to speak, they can put on it whatever they want. Some of them just read and click like or love. Some you can see that they saw it but don't want to say anything. And I say, God, you know. Right. But what it does,
it always counts the views.
Yes,
and how many people are viewing whatever and reading.
Right, right. And you know, I said, Lord, you told me to put up. You know what they need. I don't. It's there for them. And if they never say anything, you know what they need. So I'm just very excited about it. And it's one of those pages, because I've been on a few sites for encouragement if you lost someone. And I couldn't stay on it because I got so depressed, because it's a lot of depressing Whereas my nature is to help you bounce back
Right.
because our foundation is in God.
Right.
And though we talk real talk, at the end of it, there's a but God.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
At the end of it, there's, you know what? We still have to live and carry out our purpose.
Right.
We're going to have a moment, go through it, it's okay, but there's got to be a but God. And after my husband died, I wrote a song called Committed to Live. I say no to depression. I say no to suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I say no to anxiety. I'm committed to live my life.
Okay.
And I see it coming to fruition. You know, it started with the idea, and then I said, Lord, wait a minute. Everybody's not on Facebook. I need to reach people that are not on Facebook. So, and the way we're talking, this is the way I talk to God. I said, you got to help me. Like, yo, God, what's up?
Right.
I need another avenue because everybody's not on this social media. As clear as day, I was at work. He said, start a conference call.
Okay.
And you get it out to the women that's not on Facebook so that at least they can call and dial in. I get their phone numbers, and the ones that I know that are not on Facebook, when I get ready to have a conference call, we send out a text.
Okay.
To them so that at least they can be involved. I send out a text, listen, we're meeting at such and so on this, if you can come, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's about 4 to 6 women, and sometimes I get discouraged. I'm like, oh, why not more? But then I realize small groups is the best way.
Right.
And we don't always have
They're
the same
effective,
people.
Right.
So everybody gets to share.
Mm-hmm.
We cry together, we laugh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but we leave away lighter,
Right.
empowered,
Right.
encouraged. And my biggest thing is I don't want anybody to be isolated
Mm-hmm.
because that can easily happen.
Right.
You know, so I'm doing so much talking. I'm sure you want to ask me something.
No, I'm listening. This is good.
You
This
know,
is good.
and my biggest project, which I'm excited about, is my book called What If He Dies is in publishing now.
Okay.
Maybe a month or so after my husband died, it was in my spirit to write a book. So then I convinced myself, that wasn't God, that must be me. Because, you know, you want to immortalize that person. You don't want people to forget. But between writing the blog, you know, the wow factor,
Mm-hmm.
and then going through the stages of grief,
Right.
and then trying to live again, I forgot about it. And I said it was just probably something I felt like doing because it was
Because you were
fresh.
in mourning.
Yeah,
Right.
and it was fresh. Well, 4 years ago, which was 3 years after he passed, because it was 40 years ago, I'm sitting in church, and a gentleman who I didn't even know his name, he usually works in the children's church. He happened to be in the main sanctuary, sitting next to me. Didn't know his name at the time. And during the offering, he looked at me and said, how's the book coming? I said, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
He said, how's the book coming? I said, who told you about a book? He said, flesh and blood didn't reveal it to me.
Oh, wow.
Well, the tears started coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then he grabbed my hand and he said, the Lord said, I didn't come to condemn you, but to encourage you. And that's when I realized, so it wasn't me. It was God
Right.
that impressed it, which leads me to tell people a lot of times when God puts an idea in your spirit, like with you, it doesn't always mean at that moment.
Right. And you just got to be patient.
Yeah,
and feel
in the
and
fullness
wait.
of time. And I had to
Sometimes
wait.
you feel like you're wasting God's time because you're not doing what
Right.
you feel like should be done now.
Yeah, and then you start feeling guilty.
Right.
Meanwhile, when I think about it, I said, wait a minute, I couldn't do it any sooner because I hadn't even started going through the stages of grief and making sure my daughter was okay. Because if I'm going to talk about our journey, I'd have to be ready
You
to
gotta get
relive
on the
that.
journey, right?
And at that time, I mean, it was still difficult when I finally started it. And even then, I put it down for a while. This other prophet didn't even know. He said, God said, I'm giving you back more time. I knew what that meant.
Right.
At that point, I finished it. It took me, I want to say, a total of 2 years because that's hard to talk about. You know, I went through how we met, the whole journey. I didn't get into any detail about his sickness in terms of the hospital because the main point of it is like what you were discussing, from going through that life-changing experience
Right.
to where God brings you to where you birth something new.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I could have a widows group or write a book called What If He Dies without him dying.
Right.
After he died, the Lord showed me a vision. I'm looking out the kitchen window of the house before I sold it in the backyard. I saw my husband's body go on the ground, and the Lord said, seed. Then the same place where he was buried, I saw a tree coming out. And that's when he was showing me harvest.
Okay.
And the Lord said to me, him going into the ground and dying, what you going to do with the testimony? Now, at that time, I wasn't even thinking about a book. I didn't have a widows group or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Where the ministry, because of your experience, is going to bring people in. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but now I'm seeing.
Right.
Because I also have women that are part of a group that are not legally married. That's not my argument. That has nothing to do with me.
Right.
All I know is they had a
hurting.
love
Right.
for their mate for 20, 30
Whether they have
years,
the paper or
and
not.
they're going through the same pain.
Exactly.
That's not for me to judge.
Right.
I'm just loving on them
Right.
and doing what God says do.
Right.
So now, in hindsight, I'm like, when I saw that vision, I had no idea. I'm like, I know I sing, but I'm like, there got to be more to it than that. I've been doing that, but didn't realize a book, a widows group, and God is showing me that where a widows group can go. Like I said, we're going to plan a retreat for next year. A couple of days, the women want to get together. We're going to plan a time where their children come, because a lot of the women, believe it or not, the average age of these widows and widowers are maybe 51, 52.
Wow,
Not old.
Not old at all.
No.
Do you have a segment of men that are?
I have
part
two,
of it?
but men grieve differently.
Right.
You know, they stay kind of to themselves, a little more isolated. So there's two. One kind of is not on the page much anymore, but it's still, I will always say, widows and widowers.
Right.
And they hear it, you know, it's open. There's one that he comes on pretty often. He's only 46. His wife is 42 when she passed. And it's only going to be a year, I believe, in either October or November. I have some where it's still very fresh, just made a year, 2 years. I have one who's 30 years, and she said, you know, I don't know if I would be great for the group because I wasn't in a good place with my husband when he passed. I said, but we still need you because there might be somebody that's a part of this group that's in the same situation, and you could help her. Ask me if one didn't talk to me one time when we had a meeting, had a luncheon, and she said, I don't know how to feel because we weren't in a great place. I said, but that doesn't negate the fact that you loved him.
Right.
I said, trust me, there was a few times I wanted to knock my husband over his head. That's called marriage.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Absolutely.
I said, it goes past your feelings. It's called commitment. I said, commitment has nothing to do with how you feel, because I didn't wake up every morning feeling in love. But you made a commitment to stay there, to be with this person, to grow with that person.
Right. And
So
you
I said,
both
trust
honored
me.
that.
Absolutely. So, you know, so I'm just excited because I'm finally at a point where I'm healed enough that when I think of him, I don't cry like I used to. And the gaps are starting to widen, you know, you know, when I cry, even yesterday, even though it was the 7th anniversary, I didn't feel the need to cry.
Okay.
You know, and people like, you know, go ahead and cry, and you know, don't. As I tell other people, don't hold it in. But I didn't feel the need to because God has brought me to a place, you know, where I'm healing, and that's how I can tell I'm healing. Because I remember when he first died, I used to say, God, I'm not going to make it. I am not going to make it.
Right.
Then after a while, I was saying, God, how can I make it?
Right. How can you?
How can I make it? Then after a while, I would say, God, I think I'm making it.
Right.
Then after a while, I was saying, God, I'm making it. All right. Look at me. Yeah. And that's how I knew, you know, because it is a process and you have to go through it.
You have to.
But I am at the place where I'm not like forcing tears. And, you know, I always remind myself I'm the master of my thoughts. I can easily bring myself there if I wanted to. We can.
And I understand what you feel. And, you know, because when my sister Jamie, you remember my sister Jamie, when she passed, I thought I was going to go with her. Yeah. Yeah. And it was years and years and years before I could not think of her. And I mean, burst into tears like she died yesterday.
Yes, yes.
And then 2001, then my other sister passed. And that one, I swore up and down that was my mother. I knew that was my mother, even though my mother was my mother.
Right.
She was the one that took care of me. And I was like, what are you doing to me, Lord?
Yeah.
And it just became too much. And when you can finally get to the place where you can think of them and not just melt into sadness for days.
Yes.
And trying to, you know, just retrieve yourself and feel normal. You know, I'm still teetering when it comes to my dad because, you know, he just passed in July of 2018. So I'm still, you know, being a daddy's girl, I'm like, you know, wait a minute. And my birthday is Father's Day. So, you know, it was the worst birthday I've ever had. So I disappeared. I knew what I needed to do. You know, I needed to retreat and find a place where I just needed silence.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to think of them and cry,
there you
I
go.
had the place to do
to
that.
do it without.
I didn't need nobody to rub my back.
Right.
I don't because you know everybody want to tell you how to feel and tell you when to feel it. And I was like,
just leave me be. Just let me be.
Just let me be.
Yeah.
And let me work through this the way that I need to work through it.
Right. Because even those journeys are similar, they're still unique to you, certain things. You know, there's so many dynamics involved, your personality, you know, the relationship with you, you know. So it's definitely a journey, but I will always say, but God, and tell people if it had not been. And because of my faith in him, because I know where my husband is. And I always say, I said, well, while he's with the Lord, I'm still working for the Lord.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, he's really living his best life. You know, and I said, the moment he went into his presence, cancer had to bow. Because there's no sickness in the presence of God.
Right.
So to know that he's not suffering. I mean, this man was on a 72-hour fentanyl patch and oxycodone.
Wow.
And still in pain. And they used to call him the gentle giant.
Yeah, my dad was on morphine.
Yeah, so,
and he's like, where did the puppies come from? I said, huh?
Yeah.
It was that strong till he thought that they were puppies in the hospital.
And to see him like that, it's just...
You don't want to.
You don't want to. But I just thank God that, you know, when you think about how far you've come in your life and the different experiences and how God has used, like what he's having you do now.
Right.
You know, for all you've gone through and the testimonies you have, and I'm sure you haven't told them all. And there might be a time where you come in and just tell your own story.
Right.
When God says so.
About that.
Well, you have to.
That.
You know, you're going to give room
for. But I'm still
for.
in the process.
Yes, and you'll know when.
It's just not time, right?
Yeah, you'll know when.
And why this magazine, the purpose for this has even come up in my spirit, you know, because I've had to encourage myself and find ways to feel normal or whatever your normal is.
Right.
You know, in all of the crazy.
Right.
And find the woo-saw in the midst of the storm because the storm ain't moving. You know, it's going to be there. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's not moving.
Yeah.
It's like what you going to do in it.
Exactly. Girl, look. And I tell people, I'm very real. I love Lord. There were nights when I was crying, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you, God.
Right.
I tell people, and he understands that.
Right.
I say all the time, there's nothing so great that we can do that God will love us anymore, and nothing so less than that we can do that God will love us any less. He just loves us. So there was times I would go in my house, and I don't talk to you either.
I ain't talked to God for a year after my sister died. A year.
He understands. But look at this.
It took me to the place where I said, okay, I'm tired of being depressed. Yeah. And that's when the change came.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm one of these people, I'll say it here and now. I encourage, especially some of the women, if I notice a certain thing, get therapy. It's okay.
Amen.
Get therapy. I said the same way you go to a medical doctor, you should go to a mind doctor.
Yes.
It's okay. The battlefield is in the mind. Go and talk some stuff out. Go believe in God that this person can help you through it.
Right.
Go believe the same way you take your medicine.
But you know, we as Pentecostals.
You got the blood of Jesus on that.
Just blood of Jesus it and sit on the altar and cry and rock and then get up crazy.
And the same way. And then you start feeling the guilt. Why you know, am I still
hurting?
Yeah.
Why am I still
But
feeling
I have gone out even when I sing and take 5 minutes when I tell my story. And I said, some of y'all won't like what I'm saying, but it's too late. It's already come out. Once it comes out, that's like when a lawyer says something and they know it's going to be objective.
Right.
But like the jurors already heard it. It's already out.
Right. It's already out there and it's going to change.
You know, one thing I want to say, I thank God for my church, Christ Alive Christian Center in the Bronx. Our associate pastor is a full-fledged psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. So you know.
So he's doling drugs for it.
He knows. he knows.
Absolutely.
And he's Christian, full of the Holy Spirit, and a psychiatrist. Matter of fact, every now and then I'll text him when I need a therapist and see if he knows somebody in a certain area for one of my people.
Right.
There's absolutely none. And don't get me wrong. There's with some people, they can go to God and it's done. But all of us might not.
Right. But you know, I've graduated, went to seminary, and one of my majors was Christian care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in Christian care, they go through the whole process of dealing with people and their emotions and their mind and the mindset. And some things you cannot handle as a Christian counselor, you have to refer to a psychiatrist.
Yes, it's okay.
And it's okay.
It's okay. You know what my thing is my pastor said one time, he said, when you go to, whether it's a doctor or a psychiatrist, therapist, whatever, and you trust God, God and that medical person is going in the same direction.
Right.
Both want you well. So what's
the fight? What's the big
And
fight?
when I tell you I'm so over people and their opinions, whatever I need to do for me,
that's what you're
I'm doing. I said, you know what? The Lord saved me from two things, my sins and the opinions of people.
Right.
It's just,
and
look,
when you get to that place,
look,
that's a whole different mindset.
Exactly.
Whole different mindset. While you're talking, get your song ready because we want to hear it.
Yeah, it's a little song that God gave me called "Committed to Live," and it's just absolutely. To this day, sometime I go back and listen to it. So you let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
I was driving in my car. I was stopped at a red light. I was traveling not far when I pulled over to my right. I came to a place of the dead. I began to cry. I looked at the tombstone. To my love I said goodnight. Then I gathered myself. I thank God for His life. I'll go on to do the work of the Lord. I'm committed to live my life. I'll say no to depression. No to long nights. I'll say no to anger and fear. I'm committed to live my life. I'll say no to giving up, and it's no to suicide. I'll say no to anxiety. I'm committed to live my life. In the Word of God, it says in Ephesians chapter 5, awake, awake from your sleep, arise from the dead to give you life. I'm thinking on things from up above. He'll give me peace in my mind. I refuse to be among the walking dead. I'm committed to live my life. So I'll say no to empty feelings, and it's no to idle time. I'll say no to resentment. I'm committed to live my life. It's gonna be no, I'm not gonna worry. No to sleepless nights. I'll say no to self-destruction. I'm committed to live my life. I will not die, but I will live to tell what the Lord has done. I'm not gonna die, I'm gonna live to tell what the Lord has done. I will not die, no, I will not die. I'll say no. The battlefield is in the mind. just survive. No, 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 no. I'm committed to live my life. I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna live my life. I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna die. I'm committed to live my life. Yes, I'm committed to live my life. I'm committed to live my life. Committed to live my life. Da 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 da.
So that's it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I wrote that. And I would try to remind my daughter. I said, "What we gonna do?" I said, are we gonna live or are we gonna die?" She said, "Mom, we gonna live." I said, "Not just exist."
Right.
I said, "That means carry out our purpose."
Right.
And I just have to remind myself every so often when I get involved in feeling sorry for myself or having a moment that when Jesus died on the cross, it wasn't just for our sins, it wasn't just for our healing, physical healing, but it's for our grief as well, to
Right.
be healed from that. And I said, who am I to waste that avenue of escape from grieving? Don't get me wrong, we got to go through it.
Right.
But I ain't got to stay there.
Right. Absolutely.
And to know that he died on the cross for that as well. You know, people think about physical ailments, but he died on the cross for emotional, mental, everything.
right.
He's a balm in Gilead. He gets where nobody else can go. And the fact that he didn't come down, knew that I would go through this one day, which means he's given me power and authority even over this. When that comes up on me again, I say, wait, hold up, we ain't going there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a moment, but we ain't staying in it. We're not building a tent. We inviting people over. We not having a party. We're going to get through this real quick. Yes, I'm human, but I also got to keep my eye on that my life, this whole situation is bigger than just me.
Okay. Right. Now, the song, I wanted to hear the whole thing because I had heard the song before. Annette sent it to me when it first came out. Mm-hmm. But the thing that, if you listen through it, it talks about you didn't repeat the issues that you experienced.
Right.
Depression, anxiety, anger, each
right.
one.
Right.
You went through.
And didn't name all of them that you can go through.
Right. But you didn't repeat any of them. You was like, these are all going to hit you in the head.
Yes, absolutely.
Now what you going to do?
Right.
Live your life.
Right. Committed
to live.
Yes.
No matter what, no matter what the situation, just committed to live.
I tell people healing, time just does. People always say time will heal you. No, it's not just about time. It's a commitment. Right. I said, it's actually a discipline. I said, what's discipline? To do what you don't want to do to get to where you want to get.
Right. And see, that's the difference. And that's what I had to learn also in grief is time does not heal it. Because time continues on no matter what.
And guess what? I've met people that are stuck. Meanwhile, 10 years have gone by, and they act like it happened yesterday. They've wasted so many years. And it affects other people because we're not unto ourselves. If I would have stayed there, my daughter, my sisters, my parents, people at the church that I know, we're all linked together. Mm-hmm. They would have been, I said, devil is a lie.
Right. You have to be committed to choose. To live. And that's the difference,
right?
And that's where people can glean from,
right?
From this,
right?
From all the things that you've done, all of the pages, the book, the songs, the videos, just your life, your crazy morning drives.
Yes. And I don't always wake up, but I decide. I get in the car and I put a song, and I'm like, I'm going on live. And I'm like, I am the master, and I control what my day is going to be like.
Absolutely, right.
Even when I've had the worst nights, didn't sleep well, I get up and like, it's a new day. Oh, it's raining outside? I'm going to wear yellow, orange, or bright green. Mm-hmm. Whatever it takes. And even as I'm talking and acting crazy on the video, I feel better.
Right.
Before I go into my job. Nothing happens till something is spoken. I said, before he made the world, he said it first. Mm-hmm. So before I leave home, I said, Heather, have a good day.
Right, have it on purpose. And you have to speak those things that are not as though they were.
Right. And it's work, girl.
It's not a fake thing.
No.
It's a choice. Because some people feel like, you acting all jolly and you're pretending and you're, no, I'm working this thing out.
Exactly. And guess what? Fake don't last. But when it's real.
Right.
It's real 7 years from now. It's real a year from now. People can't last with fake.
Right. And you have to make a choice.
Yeah. Every day.
That's the difference.
You wake up and say, what am I going to do? I mean, right after he died, I didn't want to come out the house. I didn't want to get dressed. I didn't want to do anything. 2 weeks after he died, I made a pact with my daughter. I said, if you go back to school, I'll go back to work. And some people probably wouldn't agree with that. I could care less. I said, my thing was this.
He was bargaining with her, right?
Well, I always did that. Even to get her to drink water, I started buying bottled water when she was a little girl. I said, I bet you can't drink just one. Then after a while, because she didn't like water. Mm-hmm. So I started buying them in bottles. Psychology of it. She said, I got one. I said, I bet you can't drink 2 in a day. This girl drinks more water than I do now. Mm-hmm. Everything is a psychology. When I go out to sing, what to sing, where to sing, depending on the congregation, everything is psychology. You're thinking about where people are. So you can come with an agenda, but you have to tweak it a lot of times.
Right.
I can go to one church, if they're Baptist and they used to hymns, me coming in with Israel Houghton on the
no.
I just sing for funeral day. I just go back to Precious Lord because I saw the audience.
Right.
Everything is a psychology.
Right. Absolutely.
So I told her, I said, look, I go back to work, you go back to school. Because my thinking was this, if we stay home for a month or so, we're going to get further down in the pit, which is going to be harder to come back out of. I said, but at least, Heather, we're going to grieve either way. But if we can get a distraction for 8 hours in a day, whether you're in class and be around people, at least for those hours you had a distraction. And if anything else, you come home so tired after you finish your work, you can get a good night's sleep.
Right.
But we're going to have those moments. So I was at work because I work at the VA, calling patients. There was time I'd have a patient chart and double over in the back because I would think of my husband and my coworkers would run. But I kept coming every day. And each day I got stronger. And I don't regret after 2 weeks coming back. Because I said, if I stay out a month, to do home and what? Sit and think about it all day and cry and make myself sick? I'm going to cry anyway.
So let's just get out of here.
There you go. Get out the house. Life is for the living. Because the last time I checked, I said the rent's still going to have to be paid.
Hello.
The car note is still coming. Car net is coming.
And you can.
And that was one income.
Twice, I'm still working on some stuff. And my husband just
and it's one income.
Like,
hello.
Okay, get over it.
And he made good money.
Right. And then you had to downsize.
I downsized. More so because I wanted to, because one thing I would tell people when I go out to, make sure you have life insurance. God is so good. And that's in my book too. The Lord had told me back in 2000, take out a bigger policy. Now me and my husband, he's 44, I'm 40. I said, what for? We doing fine. God never let me rest. We went and took a bigger policy. 2001 was what, 9/11?
9/11.
I don't know what it was brewing in his body at that time. And because of the policy that we took out, he had to have all the blood tests and all that. And he was a healthy guy, so was I. Mm-hmm. And we did it in 2000. That's another reason I'm so glad that I love Jesus and he loves me and I hear his voice and I'm his child. And I know and I followed through because you can override. 2000, we went and sat Heather between us at Allstate. And my husband handled his business. And they said, how you want to do it? Write a check? I said, nope, take it automatic deductions. And during that time, he had been laid off a couple of times, but always automatically deducted. Mm-hmm. So when he passed, there was no issue. And I went to the office. And they said, why are you here? And I remember the lady. She said, no. I said, yeah, my husband. She said, please tell me you kept up with your policy. I said, absolutely. Why? She said, a lady just left here. Her husband had let it lapse for 3 months, so now she had no insurance.
3 months?
3 months.
Just, wow.
And had stomach cancer. She had no money to bury him.
My God.
Because of I listening to God and obeying, and because my husband respected the God in me, he said, okay, let's go take out more insurance. And I mean, that was a good-sized payment we would pay, making every year because we were young. But it was worth it. But it was worth it. And because of that, I paid off her Adelphi, her undergraduate bill.
Excellent. She
got a full ride for her master's, which I didn't have to worry about it. So God is meeting our need. Do I still have those moments with some challenges? But I said, God, I'm a tither, tithing rights. I'm calling you in. This is coming up, and I don't know, and I'm a good steward of my money. What we going to do here?
Right.
But God has been faithful.
So how is Heather now? Where is
she, daddy's daddy. She still has some moments, yesterday, but she's more introverted. She doesn't talk a lot about it, so sometimes I have to pull things out of her. We go to the cemetery, which is about 3 miles from my house. Because I'm a veteran, I could have buried him in Calverton as a spouse.
Oh my gosh, that would have been
But that's because it was so far away, all the way out in Long Island. And I said, let me bury him 3 miles from our home at Mount Hope, where if ever she feels the need, because everybody's different about cemeteries. I was never big on going. That wasn't me.
Right.
But she might be different where she needs to go, and she can get there. And she's gone, birthdays, Father's Day. We went by there yesterday. The most I've ever been to a cemetery, because I didn't go for anybody, grandmother, anybody. But, and I thank God because of the insurance money, too, I was able to go ahead and pay for without worrying about that, because if I would have had a Calverton, that would have been free.
Right.
But I was like, I don't care. I need to make sure my daughter can do whatever she needs to do if she needs, or if I need to get there. And sometimes I go sit there for a minute, so. But she's one of those, when she's going through something, she pours herself into her work, and she, but I've kind of taught her down through the years to talk stuff out to me, because she's one that won't talk a lot. She's not like me. But I said, I need you to get it out. So it becomes like an interview. So Heather, where are you?
Where are you in your process?
Yeah, just to get her to get it out. So she's better with me with that. With the rest of the world, which I don't care, but at least she's getting out with somebody. She might have those couple of friends but there were times she's had jobs and been at schools and but no one knew how far that died.
Wow.
Because she just was that. Because she's like, I don't want no questions. I don't want anybody, how you doing? And father,
Yeah. Because some people can't take all
yeah,
of that.
That's not.
And it's a life.
Yes.
Life happens all the time.
Yeah, and she wasn't one to do a whole lot of talking about it. I don't want to discuss it. So don't ask me no questions. I mean, she's the exact opposite of me, but just like her father. But she's, we're coming along. I'm glad she moved back home. We're together. We have a ball together. The Barnes women.
She makes me laugh.
Yeah.
She responding to your.
Oh, are you kidding me? One day I was on to do my video talking to the people, praising God and giving a word in the car. She comes on with the eyes up in the ceiling. Did you see that?
Yes.
And she said, Mom, don't forget my eye drops. My eye drops. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of telling people how good God is, and He'll be to you. And I'm
and
she's
get my eye drops.
I'm over you. Like,
knock it off.
Yeah.
Knock it off. That's enough for you.
Yeah, and I noticed she's come on real quick, and she'd be like, yeah, okay, and she's gone. But we're making it. Thank God for family and the support system from mommy, daddy, my sisters, everybody. My church support is just amazing. I mean, in the book, the way I talk about my pastor and his wife, and we had only been at that church at that point a year. When he got sick the last year, my pastor would come to my house once a week and minister to my husband. And then when he went to the hospital, he would minister to him. So I wrote about that in my book, and I'm so grateful because, like I said, we weren't there that long.
But he made an impact. Both of you made an impact to the place where.
Yeah. And my husband loved him. Because my husband was so intellectual, every pastor couldn't talk to my husband because they wasn't getting him and he wasn't getting them.
Right.
He had a lot of questions. And sometimes people are intimidated by it. Right. But my pastor, God had taken him out from he was supposed to be a doctor. God pulled him out. So he can deal with, and there's nothing against anybody. Everybody has different ministries.
Right.
Like in medicine, everybody's made for something different, tailor-made. Some are for those that come in and need, the milk. And there's some that maybe after a while need the meat, or, the way you present stuff don't work for me, so I have to go over here because I get it. But there's no indictment on the other ministry.
Right.
So my husband fell in love with our pastor, which I was glad because my pastor got him. And he just opened my husband's mind to so much of, biblical truth, the way it was explained to him. And I said, Lord, I thank you again.
Right.
And that was a year before he actually, got sick. And then once he got sick, the pastor was coming and still just ministering to him. And that's big for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we definitely had a lot of support. And even my coworkers and the veterans, listen, those are my babies. those guys still, how are you doing? I mean, so many came to the homegoing service. They were amazing. That's why I just thank God for people. I love people. Wherever I go, people, they've helped me. And I appreciate that.
Now with you being where you are in your process,
right?
When you get the how you doing, how does that
Believe it or not, it bothered me more so earlier. And certain things they said, you over it yet? Or now when they ask them, I'm like queen of sarcasm. So God has to help me in that area.
Right.
Now, we get the ones that feel that I should be over it enough. And now since I'm over it, maybe, now they're trying to come on to me. And, I get some of them doing that. And one tried to come in for a kiss on the cheek. And I went Matrix on him. I did the lay back and came around. Girl, listen, I said, look, I know I look young, but I'm going to be 60 in November. I've been here a long time. I know, but I can smell what you getting ready to say.
Right.
I can tell. But certain things that bothered me or I was sensitive to, now I let it roll off because I'm healthier. Whereas a lot of times when you're very sensitive because you're still healing, you're grieving. So it don't take much for you to cry.
So you poke the bear.
Yeah, right. Whereas now I just let it roll.
Still, festering.
Right. Now I say stuff like, I can't believe you just said that to me. Are you serious? Really? You? That's what I said. Think about what you said seriously, or you know what? I'd be a nun for the rest of my life. No, you ain't the one.
Lord help her.
Yeah. So I'm a little. Sometimes they'll say, and they call me by my first name, Belinda, at work. Belinda, I can't believe you said it to me. Well, believe it, because I just said it. Do you need me to put it on repeat? Because I'll put it on repeat. Stop it. I mean, I had this guy, he's like almost 80 years old, come holding my hand, a patient. Well, if you need, you can have my number. My husband gone 3 months, call me out. And you could see my face going like, ew.
Yeah.
I said, sir. I said, the only man that I'll be calling at this point in my life is my father. So no, that'd be a no. Meanwhile, the volunteer that works there, it was in front of her office, and she's loud when she laughed. Right in front of him, she just busted out, started laughing.
And it's amazing because I have other friends who have had their spouse pass. And it's amazing how people are such vultures. They just pounce immediately.
Oh, my God. When I tell you.
It's like, what are you doing?
Thank you. I've had some, and I know people feel this way, like if you plan to get married again, you got to stop talking about your husband so much on Facebook. And, ask me once again, God save me from my sins and the opinions of people. Because, I'm really at the point, at one point I thought about it, maybe, but you know what? Let me tell you how comfortable in the Lord and where I am in my journey. I said, God, if somebody could deal with all of this, fine.
Right.
And if not, that's fine too. Because I live my life to the fullest. I go out with friends. I'm here. I'm there. I'm going to Cape May with some girlfriends that I've never met. Only know one. There's going to be 10 women next weekend. I live my life, and I'm enjoying it. And I said, God, I'm at the point where your will. Either way, I'm going to be happy. Either way. If there comes a point where, I might not mention him as much. But my mother told me, she said, Renee, if your desire is to get married again, God will meet that need. She said, first of all, there might be somebody that's crossing California somewhere that don't know anything about you or nothing. And I said, you know what, Lord, that's tailor-made for you. And I said, well, you know what, God? You know.
Right.
You got to be ready, though, because I'm much. You know.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. That's why we're here right now, because it's a big thing.
Yeah, I like to laugh and have a good time and just.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and I've always been that type that I tell people I smile by default. That's my go-to. People were like, we were nervous because at the funeral you did a lot of smiling. Well, that's what I do. Trust me. I said, you won't want to see me cry because I get real ugly. We go in. I said, I mean, the whole actress thing coming. I said, you wouldn't be ready. An hour later, I'd still be in it. I said, so trust me, you'd rather see me smile. I said, because I'm like, where's the third box of tissue?
Not the third. Not the third, Renee.
Yeah, my daughter's like, Ma, you need to bring it down. No, I said, no, that's why you, and I'm me. But yeah, it works for me. I am who I am, and no apologies.
Absolutely. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
No apologies.
Yeah.
We gotta learn to be who we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And accept who we are.
Right.
Be happy with who we
Right,
are.
right.
And don't let anybody change you.
Right, exactly.
What are you changing for?
Right, for what? Because if you let them
somebody
change, they're going
else?
to change you, want to change you more.
Right.
Well, now go back to this. Look, man, please.
And how you going to keep up with that? You got to remember
And
to
at
be
this point,
somebody else. And I don't have that much.
I
don't
love
have that much
me
space
and how God
up
made
in
me.
Here.
No.
I don't have,
no.
it's either me
Girl, I'm too tired.
all across the board. I can't remember how I was with you and then remember how I was with somebody else. I don't have that much storage.
No, and why should we?
You know, I just bought a thing for a terabyte. I don't have. There's no storage up here. It is full. So you get me to how I come is how
I like
how
me
am.
and how I am.
Right.
And I know I'm a bit much. I mean, I've had actually, you know, I knew there was one guy that would always tell me. He said, "Yeah, I see you on your on Facebook. You a lot." And you know what I said? I guess I thought he might. I said, "Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I will continue." Even though I know he's trying to tell me like
He's
you need to
trying
tone
to
it
be
down.
sarcastic,
Oh,
right.
but
That's
thank you.
too much for you.
I said, "Thank you so much. I will keep that up." Seriously, dude?
Right.
No. I'm fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what my husband was, and I was all of this like used to have him cracking up and loving it.
Right.
And you know, I tell people if I marry him, I'm not looking for anybody. He can't be replaced.
Right.
My husband was for me from when I met him in 1977 to when he died in 2012. That season, he helped me get to this point. That Renee is no longer.
Right.
So where I am now, God will give me who I need for where I am now. It's just that
If
simple.
he does that.
If
And
he
he
does.
doesn't.
If you guess what? Girlfriend gonna be out. I told my daughter, don't worry about me.
Right.
Matter of fact, I think I'm out
on
more
the
than
road,
she is.
Right.
She's home like, where you at
Right.
now, mommy?
She gotta
Listen,
keep
I'm
up
living
with
my
you.
life. And if nobody go with me, I have no problem going to the movies by myself.
Right.
Going to eat. I
I go to the movies by myself and I go out to eat by myself because
Yes.
sometimes I just need to be with
By
me.
yourself. Yeah.
I'm the introvert.
Yeah.
I'm the one that, you know, I'm good. I don't like
Yeah.
to shop with people because I don't like to shop.
I don't like to shop either. Can you imagine?
So when I go to the store, I want to go get that.
And be out.
I
Yeah.
don't want to look through
No.
all of the clearance racks and then all of the sales.
Right.
I'm
Neither.
going to get
Right.
that.
And that, yeah, if it's not there, no.
And I go get
Look,
that.
I need to
and-
come home and watch football. It's football season. That's my thing. Don't
Okay,
play. Don't
so
play.
who is it? Who is it?
Look. As long as it's not the Jets, I don't care.
The Steelers. Come on, cuz. We got to do better. It's always the Pittsburgh Steelers. Always.
I've always been a Giants fan.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we
Long
be-
as it's not the Jets, though. They sold their soul with Joe Namath back in whatever the
Right.
1960
And not
something.
the Patriots.
Oh, what? Deflategate? Are you kidding me? Oh, please.
I'm not going to say that because the cameras are rolling. I'm going to leave the Patriots alone. But we're going to stick with the Steelers.
I'll
all
even
day,
deal with
all
it because
night.
I've always liked the Steelers too, though. Absolutely.
Well, you know, my dad was from Pittsburgh.
Really?
And then when I was little, sit me right there and we watched the Steelers.
Wow.
I didn't even know.
And you know, one of our cousins played for Green Bay Packers.
I didn't know that.
You know, Pastor Mamie Raji,
Yeah,
her
yeah,
son,
yeah.
B.J.
know
Raji.
that.
He was part of Green Bay Packers. He just retired, maybe I want to say 4 years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I think he was number 91. I think something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Green Bay, yeah.
My husband brought Max Starks to the house.
Really?
Now, Max Starks is a wall, right?
Yeah. Wow.
He's huge. My daughter must have been 3 years old, the oldest girl. So Max comes through the door, and I stand and open the door. It's at my mom and dad's house. And my daughter's running because she knows that I walk away from her. She comes running. And she comes and she sees Max. And she does this whole about face and tears are flowing. And she's like, because he looks like everything just this
And she's so
big.
little, yeah.
And she
yeah.
was this big.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's
And I
awesome.
had to get her. I was like, no, he's nice. So I'm petting Max. I'm like, nice man.
Wow. How old was she?
She was 3.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of scary, yeah. It's funny because my husband introduced me to football because he played in high school and college. And when we were dating, I'm like, as long as I'm sitting here looking at it with you, you need to teach me the game. He
Right.
got
At
paper,
least find out.
X's and O's, and we've been to Redskins, Chicago Bears, the Giants. I mean, we saw so many. I think I became worse than him once. I mean, you'd hear me yelling.
Yeah, I'm not.
And
good
I
with
never
sports.
wanted to go anywhere to
Go
celebrate
all the
with
way
people
in.
because I wanted to be at home, just me and him in it. But
Right.
after he passed, I didn't watch it for a couple of years. But now, that's how I know I'm healing too, because I'm back in it, talking so much smack on Facebook, as you can see, just especially against the Jets.
Right. I do see those, right?
Just talking a whole bunch of junk,
Well, I'm always pumping the Steelers.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, you know what? I'm
now,
gonna do too.
We can't claim it anymore. We was the only team that had 6.
Yeah.
Super
Now
Bowls, and now them cheesy,
we won't even say the
cheating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But this was amazing.
This has been everything.
Yeah.
And I'm still so excited, and I'm so appreciative that this has taken place. This is history.
Me too. This is
history.
And this was, believe it or not, this was therapeutic for me to tell the story and be the first. I'm excited. But can I do one thing before we kind of go off? Let me just have a word of prayer.
Okay.
Father
Absolutely.
God, we thank you for your loving kindness and your tender mercy. God, we thank you for this vision.
Yes,
God, in this visionary, we know that it's going to go places. God, we thank you that she has made it a podcast because we recognize this is relevant right now.
Yes,
Podcasts are the way to go. And God, people are going to hear what she has to say and others have to say. This is going to be a platform for people to tell their story that will help heal others, because that's what it's all about, that people can be healed and they can say, I can identify with this person, that person, and if God helped them through it, he can help me. God, continue to encourage her. God, give her insight, new ideas, oh God. We don't know where this is going to go, oh God. Keep her ready, keep her mind open. God, we speak blessings, oh God, that will go before her abundantly, oh God. God, continue to meet her need in her home, on her job, her finances, oh God, in her house, in her space, God, wherever her foot treads, oh God, let it be blessed, oh God. God, as she comes down here and she does this, oh God, whatever engineer is in the room here with her, oh God, let them be encouraged as well. Let everyone, as many as possible, hear the stories of the many people that will come by way of her program. God, we thank you in advance. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Amen. Thank you.
I'm so excited.